Om Sri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। In our journey through the wisdom that is being imparted through this Upanishad called Prashnopanishad, in chapter 1 we came to know that the three qualities that are required for Vedanta, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam to become effective is a certain degree of austerity at the body level, Brahmacharya at the mind level, and Shraddha at the intellect level. And once we have gained these qualities, we are in a position to approach a guru and also put forward whatever questions or queries that we may have regarding the Upanishadic wisdom. In chapter 1, we saw the concept of prana as being a manifestation of Prajapati was outlined. The same Prajapati manifesting also as Rai, the matter principle, and the intertwining of energy principle and matter principle at various levels of the creation was explained in detail. This play of energy and matter is the cause for the offsprings to be propagating through this entire creation was established. In the second chapter, the question from the second student was at the individual level, what is that aspect of individuality that is glorious, that which is sustaining this individuality, and what is its greatest expression? Continuing the thought that was left at the end of chapter 1, the preceptor answers that space to earth, the five elements, the speech, mind, ear, and the eye, are all expressions of that prana principle. And it was further elaborated that the prana principle or the energy principle, as we have seen, modifies itself into five-fold variations known as prana, apana, etc. It is that which enlivens the individual body. And it was also established that it is the greatest expression of that creative principle that is being in operation in the entire cosmos. We are at the stage of the eology of prana as extolled by other indriyas and the mind, because they have come to realize that it is prana that is sustaining them. So we are right in the middle of that. Let's continue to get a quick summary of what we saw so far in chapter 2, and then we'll proceed into the specific mantra. Next slide, please. The student of Vidarbha Desha, a Saguna Brahma Upasaka, who believes that there is a deity behind all aspects of creation, and it's a worshipful deity, and there are many deities which support this entire creation. These were the beliefs of a Saguna Upasaka, and therefore he asks which of these deities or devatas or gods are actually sustaining the individual body. And his question was, which is that particular deity which enables a glorious expression of individuality? Because he recognizes individuality is a glorious expression. And from the chapter 1, he knows that it is only matter and prana which is making it happen, but he believes that there is a deity involved in this chemistry. And amongst the various deities which are postulated in the Sanatana Dharma, he wished to know which of them is the greatest one which is actually responsible for individual expression. The teacher asserts that the five elements as gross body, along with their presiding deities, the inner instruments in the form of mind, intellect, etc., along with its own presiding deity, and the indriyas, which form the subtle body, are the divinities which sustain the glorious expression of individuals. And then he says, amongst them, prana is the greatest. Prana, the energy principle, which was outlined in chapter 1, modifies itself into prana, apana, samana, vyana, udhana, etc., and upholds the body and all its expressions. Everything in creation remains functional only because of prana, both at the cosmic level as a celestial order and rhythm, and the individual level as spiritual and worldly activities. In order to prove this point, the prana as though tries to leave, and then immediately the mind and indriyas get uprooted. And when prana becomes stable, they also remain stable and function. Accepting prana as their very support and essence, the mind and indriyas through this Upanishad sing the glory of prana. And they also admit that it is prana which upholds the cosmic and the individual expressions in creation. This much we were able to cover. The example used was Rathanabhi. This, like the spokes of a wheel, as an example, it was taken to say how without the spokes the entire creative rim that we are witnessing today cannot stand in place. A very apt and wonderful example was touched upon. Now let us go into the next one, next Brahmana. Next slide, please. प्रजापतिश्चरसि गर्भे त्वमेव प्रतिजायसे तुभ्यं प्राणप्रजास्त्विमा बलिं हरन्ति ह्यः प्राणै प्रतितिष्ठसि. A kind of a little complicated Brahmana. It's not actually falling into rhythm. I had to practice a lot to get it back into the thing meter. But anyway, it's all Vedic. We have to just accept it as it is. Sun is to be added in this Brahmana to say being. Prajapati, sun, meaning being Prajapati, the Lord of the creatures. Charasi, charasi is the verb which means moves around. Charan, charati. Garbhe, in the womb. Tvameva, tvau, thou. Indeed. Pratijayase, art reborn. Actually, is reborn is the right word there. Tubhyam, to thee. Prana, O Prana. Prajaha, creatures. Tu, indeed. Ima, all these. Balim, offering. Balim means to offer some kind of a ritualistic offering. Haranti means they bring this bali to you. Ye pranaihi, those with the pranas, that is sense organs. Pratitishthasi, dwellest. As Prajapati, the Lord of creatures, O Prana, thou alone moves in the womb, the fetus, and thou indeed are born as the child. To thee, O Prana, who are always an integral part of all entities energized by Prana, in this case, mind, intellect, body, sense organs, etc., the creatures offer oblations in the form of objects, emotions, and thoughts. The first part of this Brahmana is also found in Narayana Upanishad, which is part of Purusha Suktam. And Pravina ji offered to give an explanation. Can you unmute Pravina ji, please? Pravina, can you share with us the meaning of that Purusha Suktam verse, please?
Ayom Brahman. So, do you want me to chant that verse?
Yes, that
okay.
verse part alone. Okay, not the whole.
Right. Yeah. So, one second. प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो बहुधा विजायते. Do you want me to chant the next two also, Shanti?
Next two alone to complete.
तस्य धीरा परिजानन्ति योनिं मरीचीनां पदमिच्छन्ति वेदसः. So the meaning I have written, it's a short meaning, Ramonji. I'll just go through that. Right. Okay, so Prajapati, so the Lord Hiranyagarbha is present in all beings as Jiva and in the whole universe as Virat. So here we had Prajapati. We can consider Prajapati here as Hiranyagarbha, Sarvesham Antaha, within all. He is present in all beings as Jiva and in the whole universe as Virat. Although he is never born, he still appears to be born in many forms. So that is Ajayamano. Ajaya is unborn, but still as though he appears to be born as many. Bahuda Vijayate. And then Tasya Dhira Parijananti Yonim. For that, wise men, Dhira, wise men, who realizes him as the cause of whole universe, enter the realm of sun. That is, they reach Surya Loka. which is the Satyaloka or Uttarayana, and attain Krama Mukti. Marichinam Padamichanti Vedasaha. So Marichi Marichi Rishi is one Rishi among the Sapta Rishis. Vashishta, Marichi, Pulastya, Pulaha, Atri, Agniras, and Pradu.
Good. Thank you, Pravina. That's a good summary. So here, Prajapati, the Lord of creatures, actually it has to be Hiranyagarbha because you are talking about prana at the cosmic level. And it alone moves in the womb, the fetus, both at the creative matrix level also, and also in the individual level. Both are implied in that. And thou indeed are born as the child. Then all the activities that are taking place at the individual level are energized by pranas. That is a very quick summary, but we'll have to do this. Brahmana is not a very easy and straightforward. We have to do a lot of analysis to find out. Let me see if I can guide all of us to walk through that and gather that subtle messages of the Upanishadic wisdom which is being shared through this Brahmana. Okay, next slide, please. Prajapatis charasi garbhe tvameva pratijayase. So, what is being continued is the praise of prana. All the other organs are telling you are Prajapati, the Lord of beings, which is actually another name for Brahmaji. Another name for Brahmaji is Hiranyagarbha, when Brahman is associated with the total mind. Please always remember, when we are talking about cosmic level, we must always say associated. We should not say it is contained or it is controlled or it is under the effect. Because at all point of time, Brahman remains Brahman, and even that Hiranyagarbha knows its nature as Brahman, unlike us. So it is only associated with the virtual power which is known as total mind that we give the name Hiranyagarbha to Brahman. So when this Brahman is as though associated with the total cosmic mind, it alone is moving through the entire mind. And the total cosmic mind is like the womb. That is why it is called Hiranyagarbha. Garbha means to be associated with the creative matrix. So here, the entire movement that we see as total thoughts, which energizes the entire Virat Purusha to stand up in a particular form and nature, because it is the mind, total mind, which wills the entire universe to be as it is seen today. You alone are moving through that particular womb, which is the cosmic egg, which we call it, right? So, through all cycles of creation, you alone are the principle, is the first meaning. And even at the individual level, each created being in the womb, it is prana that is energizing it. The same prana which is energizing the entire cosmic Virata Purusha to be formed and also expressed as the total universe that is perceived, that same prana principle is operating at the individual level, at the fetus level, to actually energize that baby to be born and become an entity. And this cycle is implied here, saying that you are the one who is reborn, meaning it is not like just born and then one death. But there is a cycle of being born and again dying, again being born, etc. But you are the central energizing principle. Bhagavan Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam specifically points out, and he says that because you, O Prana, are Prajapati, you are the same in different bodies. and different cycles of birth and rebirth. And his way of presenting it is interesting. When you say different bodies, we will immediately assume that he is talking about individual jivas. He is also talking about Virat, who is also a body embodiment of the entire cosmic. So both at the Virat level, which is Samashti Sthula Sharira, and the individual jivas, which are an expression of their BMI through individual body, mind, and intellect, it is the same prana that is operating. There's no difference between that. And he says, you look like your parents, and your parents look like you, he says. Because to say that there is nothing changing, it's only one single prana that is circulating through the various manifestations of the BMIs. Both in terms of breath, because there are many BMIs, and also in terms of cycles of birth, which is in terms of time cycle. So both space and time is indicated by the single term called you are the same both in the parent and the child. Parent and child means there is a time dimension. And child and parent also mean multiple jivas. Both are implied there. So one is space dimension, another is time dimension. Both are included in the single term that has been used. And you are the one who are coming back again and again and again into various forms. The idea is that parents are alone reborn as children. How? Because the same sentiency is expressing again and again in the matter constructs of the parent and also the matter constructs of the child. The sentiency is not changing. The particular matter constructs may be different. For example, my father was a mathematician, I may be a metallurgist, does not matter. My mother could sing, I can only dance, does not matter. My parents had 10 children, I have only 2 children, does not matter. These are all variations in the form of the matter constructs. But the underlying sentiency, which actually distinguishes the jiva from inert matter, remains the same. What is differentiating me from the rock? Sentiency. Otherwise, I might as well be a rock, correct? So the sentiency factor is repeating itself again and again and again through various matter constructs, whether it be parent or child. But the sentiency factor is one and the same, both in time dimension and as well as in the spatial dimension. Whether you take one child or 10 children, the same sentiency factor is expressing through them. If that sentiency factor is not there, there is no children, there is no parent, correct? So if you were to ask, what is the essential cause of parent or the child? You have to admit that it is only a sentiency factor. It cannot be anything other than that. And is there any variation between the sentiency that is expressing in me and the sentiency that is expressing in all of you? No difference. But its functioning through that particular material construct may be different. You will be thinking differently, I'll be thinking differently. But the sentiency, which is the life principle, is common. Unless we live, we cannot think. Correct? So what I'm trying to do is differentiating between living and actually thinking, doing, and etc. etc. So earlier, the mind and the indriyas were holding the view because they are thinking, because they are doing differently various activities, they are the greatest expression of the BMI, the jiva. But then prana comes and says, please understand that if I don't function, all of you will not function. And prana is functioning through all of us as sentiency. if the sentiency is withdrawn from the body, none of these mind cannot think, the body cannot feel, nothing happens. Correct? So who is independent? It is the prana that is independent of mind and intellect. When we go into a jewelry shop and you want to buy a particular necklace or a bangle or a ring, there are multiple designs, right? And you may pick up a particular design of a necklace or a bangle or a ring of your choice. That's fine. But ultimately, what do you pay for? Are you paying for the design? You're actually paying for the gold. If I give you a very wonderful designed, what they call as the, I don't know, it's a plated gold plated necklace. Immediately, the woman who is wearing it is recognized by other friends saying that she's got a gold plated one, right? No, they are able to see through the design and declare that it is plated and it is not gold. How do women gain this experience? One look, for me, every jewel looks the same. But they are able to penetrate and even distinguish between the 14 carat and the 22 carat, right? Now, because the eye of wisdom is applied by women when they look at each other. Men look at only the glitter. So they will fall for a plated necklace and say that is great, whereas the women will know the value. The same way, men of wisdom will look at this mind, intellect, and everything and declare that the real principle that is expressing is only prana. All the other things are only expression. Yes, it is great, wonderful expression. Madhuriji is very intelligent. Anusha Rammohan follows everything perfectly. Krishnan Vaidyanathan is pensive in his thinking. All these are expression. But what is the real thing expressing through them? Their life principle. And that life principle is prana. That is what is meant here. And that prana principle is repeating itself through cycles of expression through parent and child, and also many parents and many children. And not only that, it is also expressing as this entire Virata Purusha, which is a combination of all beings in their physical body and all inert things put together as the universe. And what is causing that expression? It is Hiranyagarbha Prajapati, who is the prana principle associated with the cosmic mind. Is it becoming clearer to us now? Let's see a little bit more. It will become even more clearer as you contemplate on it. Next slide, please. See, prana, the energy principle, when it gets as though identified with the individual mind, impels action. Basically, mind starts thinking, I should do this. And when one starts performing the action with a desire which is created in the mind, the results of that action will accrue, meaning they will take place. Whenever you do an action, there will be a result. This result comes in two forms. One is called immediate results, which means we can link the action to the actual result. Like if I go and, you know, it's a hypothetical scene, none of us are so rude and thing. You go and let us say you beat your wife. Okay, that is called immediate. And immediately you see her in tears. Action over, right? The reaction was tears. That is called immediate effect. And the next day you get more salt in your food, and then you get no coffee served. And then third day, unless you buy some jewels and placate her, she is going to be extremely rude to you. These are called delayed effects. we can immediately connect the tear of the wife to the beating of the husband because they are both action and results came almost together. Correct? But we would not have connected the lack of food the next day and the morose mood to this event that there was a slapping done. Hypothetical example, just to prove a point, don't get carried away with the example. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you that in every action there is an immediate result and there is a delayed result. This delayed result is known as papa and punya. The immediate results, we always get it. There's no papa punya, there is like that you get it. So it is the delayed results in order to fructify, the jiva is forced to take birth again and again and again till those results that are accrued to that jiva are actually given to him. The husband has to wake up next day to receive the ill treatment of the wife for the previous day's beating, correct? That waking up that the husband does the next day is called rebirth in the case of a jiva. So all of us as jivas are going through this jivahood because of our past karmas for which the results are pending and they are happening in this janma. The actions that we do in this janma will produce effects the same way. Immediate results which will be exhausted in this janma, and then delayed results mean it will come to fructify in the next janma. So this cycle that is happening is because of this prana principle identified with the individual mind, impulse actions, and these actions produce desire. I mean, actions with desire gives results, and these results are pushing us through the cycle of birth and death is implied in this particular Upanishadic Brahmana. When that particular prana, now it starts identifying itself with the likes and dislikes of experiences that we go through. The wife, when she did not serve you the next day, immediately what happens? You will say, I don't like this attitude of my wife. What you forgot is that you did something for which she is responding today, right? You will immediately tell, I don't like this attitude of my wife by not serving me breakfast on time because you conveniently forgot that you did something yesterday. The same way, we go through experiences in our life, which is a fructification of our past life's karma, but we don't like the results this in this janma because we are not able to connect it with our own actions. And so we start saying, I like this and I don't like this. If we did some punya, things that are good will come to us and we like it. If we did lot of papa, things we don't like will keep hitting us and we'll say we don't like it. And as we go through these likes and dislikes, we start telling ourselves, this is the kind of wife I need, and this is the kind of wife I don't like. Right? Natural sequence. I mean, rocket science here. Please understand this. And then these likes and dislikes that we have started, you know, identifying with it become strong impressions which are called vasanas. Now, in the next cycle, our vasanas that are inside us, which is past likes and dislikes manifesting as opinions, will amplify the both the experiences and good and bad in the next janma. For example, if I had a very low tolerance for a dominating wife, I'm taking our example only, please don't get carried away with the example. I could have reversed it by saying husband also, does not matter. So if you do not like a dominating wife, and because you have identified and developed a strong vasana for having a docile wife, but you did not do any karma to earn a docile wife, the next cycle of husband and wife, you will find your marriage becomes even more difficult. Because one hand, you want a very favorable kind of a wife, but your prarabdha is a more dominating wife than the previous cycle because your karma did not earn you that. So we go on messing up our life by the gap between what our vasanas are driving us, which we call as desire, and what the situation comes in front of us, which is known as our papa and punya. And who is enacting all of this? Prana, right? It is prana that is going through all these things, not you. It is like you take a car and you drive it through a mountainous road. Who is driving the car? The car is driving itself. The mountainous road can go up and down, but it is the car that is going through it. We think that the mountainous the road is going through the car. We think life is going through us. No, we are going through life. Life has nothing to do with us. We are only going through it. And every moment it changes. Gurudev sums it up nicely. This also will go away. When this seeming identification is removed, okay, this prana's identification, if I can remove it from this BMI and then attach it to its source, which is prana itself, which is Hiranyagarbha itself, all our impulses will cease because there is no drive by the prana to pursue these impulses of vasana versus experiences. And we come to realize that the prana, even though it was going through all these mountainous roads and all that, the prana, the car remained only the car. Just because it went through a mountain up and down, it did not become an up and down car. Same way, we go through life and we recognize that ups and downs in our life need not be worried upon because we are only going through it. They don't belong to us. And immediately we become liberated. The absolute all pervading reality is I am prana who is space and I am prana who is time. And in time and space, object, people, and experiences will be going through. You're watching it, that's all. You become the witness. That is what is called Sakshi Chaitanyam or witness consciousness in other texts. It is because of the identification between the prana and the individual matter construct, a specific body, mind, and intellect, to which we became very dear. We attach ourselves to it. We are unable to realize the oneness of prana across jivas and also across birth and death. Does it make sense now? Very difficult because that bonding, which is called the identification between the prana and that particular body, mind, and intellect which we currently possess, is so intense that they have become one. That oneness between the body, mind, and intellect and the particular prana, the generic prana has become an individual prana and we call it jiva. So you have to pull yourself away from that identification through any means possible. But habit through vasanas is going to drive us towards that attachment only. And you know how much of vasanas we have built up? Many, many janmas of vasanas. And who caused all these vasanas? Our own mind has caused it. And who can get rid of it? Only our mind can get rid of it. It does not matter how much dust is accumulated in the house. 1 year of dust or 1 day of dust, your sweeping action is measured by square feet of sweeping that you do, correct? You're supposed to nod and say yes. See, a square feet of sweeping that you do is only measured. So if I can do a square feet of sweeping every day, it does not matter whether I have 1 kg of dust or 10 millimeters of dust. Remember that. So in this Janma, I am giving this lifespan to sweep this away. Sweep what away? All these bonds between my prana and my BMI. And how do I do it? I start by using every movement that is given to me by saying, this movement I'm going to fill it up by sweeping that bond. It does not matter whether it is a strong dust or a weak dust, only the effort required increases, but the time taken is the same. So every moment that you spend in clearing your intellect out of the cobwebs that are created by this unholy bond, that is what Bhujagurve says, between prana, which is the energy principle, and the matter which consists of BMI, that attachment is there, sweep it away. If you think you can't do it on your own, engage a maid. This maid is Bhagwan. Invite him to your house, pay him the appropriate salary like puja, bhakti, and all that. He will do the cleaning for you very well. Greatest cleaner is Bhagwan. If you want to do it yourself, fine. Equip yourself with Vedanta, buy that vacuum cleaner which is called Vedanta, and introduce it into your house. The cleaning becomes more effective also. Yes. If you think you would like to do it on your own with your own merits, start doing karma yoga. You can do it also. Serve without any desires and minimize that pressure of vasanas so that you become free from it. Many means are prescribed, but the goal is same. Detach your prana from the unholy bonding it has got with the matter vestitude in you, which is BMI. And you will find your ego drops, your worries drop, the degree to which you clean, your house becomes clean, correct? And to that extent, you're going to be free. Even a small amount of cleaning you do every day is enough. That is why we do japa, that is why we do prayer, that is why we spend more and more time with God, so that we don't get caught up into this pressure of worldly existence. Next slide, please. Subhyam prana prajaisma balim haranti ya pranaihi pratishtasi. Sorry, pratishtasi. The mantra says that the sense organs bring offerings to prana. The prana dwelling in the body is like the one who is donning the role of a prime minister, and the sense organs are his various departmental ministers. And offerings are typically tokens of love and reference and respect to another person. When you offer something, the underlying emotion is one of love, reverence, and respect, correct? Otherwise, you will just give, you will not say offer. The ministers are bringing various information about their various departments to the Prime Minister out of reverence. And through this information, the Prime Minister will direct all the actions through these various departments so that the governance that he has planned is being enacted. Please understand that what is happening through our BMI is directed by the governance principle which is being enacted by Prana at the cosmic level. We are only a small cog in the whole wheel. And in various Kabir's Dohe, you will see Katputli, meaning we are like puppets. But the moment we say we are puppets, you will feel as if I'm impotent to change my life. Not that kind of Katputli. There is a degree of decentralization that is given to each minister by the Prime Minister, correct? They can manage the department the way they want. As long as it is aligned with the overall governance that is expected as a whole, everything is perfect. But let us say my right leg wants to go right and left leg wants to go left. Do you think we'll go anywhere? Nowhere. Same way, all these sense organs have to bring the information to the central agency, which is called Prana in this case. Though we don't recognize Prana actually doing it, it is Prana at the cosmic level which is driving our actions even outward also. So when we see something, our eyes will gather impressions which are conveyed to Prana for further processing. And this Prana will act through the actions of instruments of action, and there will be some output from us. Like a computer program, input is processed and an output is created. And this is the case with every sense organ, whether it be eye, ear, etc., etc. This conveying of impressions by the sense organs to the prana is called here as offering. That is oblations being offered to the prana. That is what the Upanishad is trying to bring out, the ritualistic part of the Vedic way of life in this mantra, in this Brahmana. Now, the impressions that are gathered, sense impulses that are gathered by the sense organs, are not serving any purpose to the sense organ. The eye does not benefit by seeing or not seeing, correct? Please understand, eye is neutral. It is not it is not going to claim that I have become great by seeing great things and I have become bad by seeing bad things. It will simply see and say good and bad is to be decided by the head office. Its function is seeing, and it is seeing, that's all. So there is no purpose served to the eye by seeing. It is only the mind and the intellect which is going to process it. And here, how does mind and intellect function? Because prana is the one which is functioning through the mind and intellect. And that is why the result is converted into an appropriate response, which we call it as action. Correct? Yah pranaihi pratishthisasi means that organs are depending on the prana. Those organs which are actually established on prana are actually functioning for the sake of prana. That is what it is like. Otherwise, we will think that there are two departments, two people. One person is the external officer, another is the internal officer, and the external officer is feeding the information to the internal officer. They are not in the same level. What is implied here that the senses are subordinate to prana. Without prana, the senses cannot function, and they are bringing the information for the sake of prana. Both are implied here. There is an indweller in you who is actually controlling you. And that is prana is implied here. Very subtle point, but it also establishes a dependency of the sense organs on the prana for their functioning, and their purpose of functioning is also for the sake of prana. Both are implied in this particular drama. If you catch that, then everything becomes clear, because then all that importance we give to sense organs will become zero. And that is the purpose of the Upanishad. It's trying to dislodge our intellect from the dependency syndrome that we are what we see, think, and feel, and etc. Our feelings are unimportant, our thoughts are unimportant, even our perception is unimportant. What is important is our existence principle. Move your attention away from all these and focus on your existence principle. The amness, the consciousness principle in you, which is prana. Next slide, please. See, pictorial representation. There is a cosmic cycle which is being enacted by Hiranyagarbha. When people do karma, there is an accumulated karma phala, and at death, there is a possibility of rebirth because some karma phala is yet to be fructified. So Hiranyagarbha is the repository of all the karma phala of all the people, and he decides who goes where and when. He just thinks. The rest of it is enacted by the principles or laws governing the materialization of that thought. So the cycle at the top is governed by Hiranyagarbha, and at the individual level, action, result, likes and dislikes, creating vasanas, and then again action is the cycle that is empowered by the five modification of prana, which is again Hiranyagarbha as prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana at the individual level. So sense inputs will keep coming in, then jnana will process it, then the mind intellect will decide what to do, and the karma indriyas will produce actions, and then we interact with the world outside. So there is a higher cycle which is done by the cosmic principle, and there is an individual cycle within that which is done by us. And there is a perfect equilibrium between these two cycles. So there is an inner wheel, which is us, and there is a huge outer wheel, which is Hiranyagarbha. Both are working in tandem. That is what is life. And each time we adjust our speed and the way we change our direction, we will make an imperceptible effect on the cosmic. But we make an effect. And in turn, the entire cosmic being is getting adjusted by all individual choices. So together we make up the entire cosmos. We affect individually and collectively the cosmos, and collectively the cosmos will affect us also. Both are in perfect sync. Good or bad, we decide. So when we start transforming ourselves and aligning with the prana principle in us, which is what is enacting this entire thing, we are closer to the truth. The more we deviate and think that matter is independently acting, we get more and more confused. And we get caught up in this rigmarole of birth and death. Next slide, please. देवानामसि वह्नितमः पितॄणां पतमास्वदा ऋषीणां चरितं सत्यम् अथर्वाङ्गिरसामसि. Devanam for the deities, Asi are Vahnitama, the best carrier of Ahuti. Pitrunam for the mains, Pratama, first, Swada, offering, literally means that which gives satisfaction. Rishidam, of the Rishis, senses, Charitam, effort, work, Satyam. Effort or work is called Charitam, Satyam is true. Atharva Angirasam, Atharva, nourishing agents in the body. Angirasa means essence of all parts of the body, Asi, are. This Brahmana is a little confusing because when we come across terms like Atharva, Angirasa, we know they are rishis. So we'll think it has got some kind of a spiritual context. It doesn't have a spiritual context. It has got a very practical understanding. I will try to give you a bird's eye view of the whole thing first and then get into the details. Okay, first is, O Prana, thou art the best carrier to the God, and thou carry the first oblations to the forefathers. You are the true dynamic nourishing principle of pranas behind the senses, and thus forms the essence of all parts of the body. This is the literal meaning. But hidden in this meaning is that we have to connect it to a verse in the first chapter. Carrier to the gods, Vahritama, means that which is actually getting you closer to the prana principle, and Pratama to the Pitrunam means it is carrying you closer to the matter principle. We'll have to go back to chapter 1 and we saw there are two paths, the northern and the southern. Both are implied by one is Vahnitamaha. The best means to reach the supreme truth is in the prana. You alone will enable us to be liberated, and you alone will enable us to be bound through the path of southern solstice, which is Pitrunam Marga. And how do you do this? Because all that we do in terms of activities, which is Rishinam through the sense organ, you're controlling it. So in a way, we are trying to tell Prana, please liberate us, because you're the one who can actually liberate us and you're the one who can actually bind us. So please guide us in a way so that we get liberated is an implied prayer in this Brahmana. Very sensitive and very important Brahmana. If you don't get confused, it opens up perfectly for you. Let's see it a little bit more in detail. It will become clear. Next slide, please. When in a sacrifice, oblations are offered to gods. The fire Agni carries them to the recipients. The organs are saying here, Prana is the carrier and also the deity to whom offerings are being carried. Meaning Prana is the Prajapati and Prana is the one which is carrying this oblation, which is the thought behind this Vedic ritual to the particular deity, which is the cosmic mind. Saying this individual mind would like to become one with that cosmic mind. And if you're not into that particular way of style of liberation, then you're actually into the world of the mains, meaning you're now in Vyapara, transactional reality. Then we start offering to our forefathers, meaning the ritualistic portion of Karma Kanda, which deals with progeny and rebirth, etc. That is being indicated by saying, out of respect for our forefathers, we believe that we are only jivas, and jivas are born again and again and again. We offer oblations during the Shraddha ceremony to that particular forefather ancestor, meaning we are getting bound into that cycle. For a person who is liberated, all those cycles, no karma is being prescribed for them. A sannyasin who is seeking to liberate himself, no more Shraddha karma for him. But a person who is a grahastha who still believes that he is this jiva, that means a veiled reference here is to the Dakshinayana Marga, southern solstice, path of the moon, the Rai principle, which we saw in chapter 1, is indicated, saying the first offering is to the forefathers. Meaning your focus is on forefathers, progeny and rebirth, etc. If your focus is on devatas like gods, fire, etc., then you are trying to see a liberative path. path of the moon and Krama Mukti. The Upanishad is trying to indicate here that one who is immersed in such offerings of the sense organs without maintaining the right contact will only be offering himself to the path of the mains. What a powerful message is there in just one single Brahmana. When you indulge in sensory pursuits without balancing your mind, which is what we saw in chapter 1, you will end up through this cycle of birth and death. That means your first offering is only towards rebirth. And the same Brahmana is telling that if you convert that offering into an exalted offering, then you will go into the path of the northern solstice, which is liberative, Kramamukti. Now the organs say to Prana that the offering is in fact offered to Prana, to whom it is all meant. That realization of that knowledge itself will enable us to liberate ourselves. It is Prana that is carrying this offering to forefathers if we so dictate, and it is the same Prana which will carry it to the itself as the supreme truth, which is the Prana principle, which is Prajapati, which is again Hiranyagarbha, which is Ishvara, which is Brahman. All that we have to add behind it. If you don't add, we get stuck in between. This is to indicate that matter by itself cannot exhibit any dynamism, and it is prana that bestows this feature on matter. So we have to allow that car to navigate itself through the mountain the right way or the wrong way. That choice is ours. That is free will in all individuals. Next slide, please. This mantra calls the sense organs as rishis, right from the Sanskrit root called rish. Rish means to move or to go. So rishi means one who is moving or going. If we have to experience the world outside, we have to take the help of sense organs. That is important. Please understand, sense organs have got a purpose to take us to the world outside. So if you are seeking the world, those who are lokis, laukika, means worldly, they seek the world and they will reveal the properties of objects in this world to us. By living as an exalted human being and experiencing the things through the sense organ, we gradually come to realize that all that we see before us is God alone in different form. When I say God here, you must understand it is prana, you must understand it is Hiranyagarbha, you must understand it is Ishvara, and stop there. In essence, we are Brahman, but what we see is Ishvara. And the moment we start seeing Ishvara in every one and other being or non-being around us, then we are actually having the true vision. So the organs say to Prana, you are that life working through these organs. You make them work correctly so that the real nature of the world comes to be realized. Otherwise, we will be deluded into thinking this world is absolutely there and that must be the truth. But it is the prana which is telling us, no, this entire world is a myth I have created, which I am just enjoying for myself, not for you. Atharva means nourishing agents in the body. Angirasa means essence of all parts of the body. Pranas are essential for nourishing the body, and further, it alone is responsible for dynamism, both in the subtle and the gross body. The thoughts that are there, the feelings that are there, and the actions we do are all because of prana. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan uses the term yogam. Yogam means to provide, and kshemam is to protect. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham, right? That is implied here in this thing, that Atharva and Angirasa are the terms used in this Upanishad to indicate that which nourishes the body and that which is the essence of all body parts. For their existence, it is prana that is providing, and for their protection, it is prana that is protecting them. Is implied. Next slide, please. See, all our activities can be classified as two kinds of activities. The first kind is called expressions of the jiva towards the world outside, which is this world or the other world, meaning Swargaloka. And this, in summary, in Sanskrit, we call it as karma. Karma means activities that are done which will earn results. And then the second kind of activity is called experiences of the jiva in this world or other worlds. One is output, another is input. The input is called phala and the output is called karma. The Upanishad assert that prana enables and sustains all otherworldly experiences and action, and this is indicated by the term Vakti Tama Pitrunam Pratamah Swada. Whether it be through the southern solstice or through the northern solstice, whatever karma you're doing, which will either liberate you or bind you, is only prana is the one which sustains it, is indicated in this first part of the Brahmana. Then it says that assert the prana alone is essence of all activities of body through the indriyas, and prana alone sustains all experiences of the body through these indriyas. So at the individual level, which also whatever is happening through the body or whatever is happening to the body, it is only prana, and this is indicated by the term Rishinam Charitam Satyam Atarvamiraso Masi. Prana therefore becomes essence of jivahood, which is karta and bhokta. Bhokta means who is getting the phala, and karta means who is doing karma. And when somebody says, I am doing and I am enjoying, he becomes jiva. And when he says pranas are doing, Hiranyagarbha is doing, and Hiranyagarbha is enjoying, he becomes liberated. That is implied by these two statements put together. So much of punch meaning is that we have to do a lot of contemplation to unearth it, but it is there. It is not too hidden. It is hidden slightly, but it is available for a discerning mind. And everything gets connected in Upanishad from the previous Brahmanas to this. I have tried to give you the key. You must do contemplation to get the real meaning. This is a very meditative Brahmana. I would encourage all of you to listen again and again, and I will share the key slides with you. Look at it, understand it. You will get more meaning than what I have just presented. I left you with the key. You have to open the door to experience that. Very meditative, very powerful Brahmana. These are called liberating statements of wisdom. And if you can actually feel yourself as that prana principle, you are there, you're home.